But we need to work closely together. What the Panama Papers tell us is that in spite of all of the Financial Action Task Force regulations on openness in financial transactions, in Big Brother is watching you, you cannot do, some professionals and some countries will still allow their territories and their own services to be used to undermine the economy, okay, the interest of some other people. Because at the end of the day, what we see, the Panama Papers, part of what it is telling us so far is that certain countries have been victimized because money belonging to them has made its way elsewhere or has been hidden and shrouded in secrecy, and those who ought to take advantage have not been able to do so.
Okay, let me see if I can put this. As he said, this is not the first time corruption, we've had revelations from outside the country concerning Nigerian leaders and politicians and all of that. There's the Halliburton matter. The Panama thing has come up. WikiLeaks at one time mentioned some Nigerians for one thing or the other with their security. But be that as it may, as we begin to tie up this segment of the program, what should the citizens, when I say citizens here, I'm talking across board, what should the citizens be doing? I think we should use that to like tie down this. What should they be doing while we're waiting for, because someone said the laws we have right now are sufficient to prosecute and diminish corruption, but what should be done by citizens at all levels? Let me begin with the lady.
Thank you. Yes, we just need to continue to ensure that we go over virtues that will make us, that will add to the overall good of the masses. For example, we are so busy being tribalistic. You know, I believe that we should look beyond tribalism and embrace ourselves and also be creative in ensuring that we challenge institutionalized corruption. You should not keep quiet. For example, people are still asking, what do you bring for us in the airport when you're traveling? And these are people that are meant to look. When you come back. Even when you come back, even when you're going. And these are people, these are people that are meant to look in your bags. So if I give you something, what does that mean? And each time that happens, I always tell them Nigeria is changing, change. You know, things like that. People should speak up. Just like you said, that we have a culture of silence. I believe we need reorientation. We need the government to help our effort. For example, personally, I know I do a lot of sensitization on my own with people. I engage youth on the street. I do free seminars. You know, I call people in Mushin. On the 1st of October last year, for example, I spent that day training young people on the street. We need to do things that will add value. I met, recently my car broke down on the 3rd mainland bridge and 8 miscreants came on to me and they were going to harass me and everything. By the time I engaged them, we became friends. And I'm talking to you now, they're still my friends. I talk to them regularly and I keep on telling them, you make the change happen. Don't engage in violence. Don't do this, just be patient. Nigeria will be better. You see, we need the message of hope. We don't need people on the social media to be stirring up things that are not. People just jump into conclusion. They'll take a small outer of information, blow it for their own personal gain. It is very, very counterproductive. So really, I, for one, will enjoy Nigeria it took us a long time to get to where we are now. It's not going to take us even 4 years of Buhari reign to fight this thing completely. But we need to change our mindset. We need to start thinking about the good of many, the good of the society. We need to add value to our society to improve the lots of our people. If you are on your seat, this is the job you do. Look for ways you can do beyond the call of duty in a positive manner. Okay, Dr. Alabi.
All right, Mojid.
Yes.
What should the citizens at all levels be doing now to help this fight, to diminish it as best as we can?
Well, I agree entirely with what she has said. But one other thing is that, like somebody we like to say, we've all got sucked in into the corruption. And that's why there has to be a rethink, a reorientation of our mindset. From the media itself, there is widespread corruption in the media, in the police, everywhere. Even common citizens in rural areas, they take money before they vote for politicians. When you take money from a politician to vote him into office, he has to still to recoup what is spent given to you. So that's why the National Orientation Agency has to be energized to tell people about the implication of corruption. People need to know that when your officials steal your money, that the implication is that you will have bad roads, you will have poor hospitals, your schools, your kids can't go to public schools because there won't be money to make it okay, So the National Orientation Agency is a key agency of government that has to rise up and try to help all of us understand the implication of corruption. As far as I'm concerned, for now, a lot of our people don't understand what it means. They don't know that the man who is stealing their money is their enemy.
That's right.
He's making life difficult for them. He's making it impossible for them to access potable water, electricity, and infrastructure, another infrastructure.
Yes.
So and they need to know that most of the bribery, high-level bribery, that took place in this country were done through offshore entities, share companies, the Alibotin bribery, the CMS bribery, the Wipros bribery. They all happened through offshore entities. In our last investigation about Swiss links, we were able to throw out some names about Nigerians who were linked to Tesla, the key man in the Alibotin bribery scandal. The Nigerian government didn't take up those heat and then go ask those individuals what their roles were in the Alibotin bribery scandal. We all agree entirely with what other panelists have said, that we all have to work together. We need to work together as media, as citizens, and everything, and see how we can reduce, because we can't minimize, as it said, corruption, but we can work together, to cut it down drastically.
Okay.
Right.
Professor?
Well, let me start by saying that scandals like the Halliburton thing, government is taking another look at it now. There was no political will in the previous administration to do so, but you would have seen in the media that government has actually started looking at Halliburton, and the Presidential Advisory Committee, we're monitoring some of these things. That's the first thing. The second thing to say is that just this week we were engaging with the National Orientation Agency about reorientation of the public, using its leverage to re-educate the public about the cost of corruption and its impact on the citizen. The government has a key role to play even in citizen reorientation, to change the narrative in a way that helps you to know, like Majid said, that when a local government official steals the allocation, no matter how small, they have just stolen the primary education of the people of that place. Indeed, what has happened is that they have confined the children from that place to illiterates, potential troublemakers, area boys, Boko Haram recruits, whatever. That's what has happened. And if you do not create that bigger picture, citizens will not connect. If you don't make it clear that when the state governor steals half the money meant for the state, they have just made sure that a pregnant woman, who may be your daughter or your sister or your wife, may not safely deliver. Okay? We need to begin to connect those things, and the citizens have a role to play in it. It's not when you get to Abuja as a public officer or as a political appointee that you make a change. You can actually start from wherever that you are. Speaking for the Presidential Advisory Committee, we recognize this gap. And that's why this week, as I said, we were discussing with the National Orientation Agency strategies for spreading this message. Okay, that's their job. We stay in the background, we engage with them, we assist them to make sure that this happens. Of course, the same kind of constraint that they will face, oh, no funding, no this, no that, is what every other person would lament. But even within those constraints, certain things can be done. The final point to make for me, I agree with Majid that we need a more enlightened public, starting with the middle class. Okay? Because if the middle class disconnects, the middle class connects the upper and the lower. To appreciate the impact of the international environment to what happens here is very critical. Once we are able to make...
You say there's still a middle class in Nigeria?
Well, whether the disappearing one or whatever, there is a group. I don't know where you fall, Alero.
I don't know either.
Where will you put yourself? Where will Dr. Alabi put herself? Even Majid, where do we all fall? Wherever we fall, we need to make that connection. You know, because that connection to recognize that what happens next door actually affects me. Okay? If we don't have a Benin Republic that is benefiting from the profligate attitude of Nigeria, if we didn't have one, things would be slightly different here.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to be realistic. Yeah. But a lot of the things, the government tightens up the news here, don't bring this, don't bring that. They take it next door. They readily accept it because they know it's coming here. They know it's coming here. This is not a secret. It's not a secret. So we need to connect with some of these things, because when you recognize that when your neighbor begins to eat something that can lead to sleeplessness, when they can't sleep, you may not be able to sleep.
As well.
That's the message.
Okay.
I think we all need to connect in order to support the government to fight corruption.
Thank you very much, Professor Bolaji Owasanwi, Executive Secretary, Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
We were also chatting with Dr. Bisi Akialabi, who's an administrator, as well as Majid Musikilu, Managing Editor, Premium Times, who is a member of the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, who spoke to us from iCloud. Thank you very much for joining us, and thanks for joining us and sharing your insights with us, all of you. Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Please join us.